you want to be in the video? Come here. Oh, oh, thank you. Very handsome gentleman. This is my dog. Besties. Hi guys, it's Bebe. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be talking about EDC. So we are wearing the bucket hat in spirit. Okay, as all of you know, almost 5,000 of you know, I am an EDC Las Vegas super fan still. Many people grow out of it. I still have not. Oh, now Scooter wants to come join the video. My other son. He's still here, guys. Don't you worry. They're assimilating. They're coexisting. They're not friends yet, but they're coexisting. Today we're going to be focusing on camp EDC. I get a lot of questions about the logistics of camp and all that good stuff. It is kind of a process, and I feel like the website doesn't always give the most information. So that is why I am here today to give you 10 must-know tips before camping for the first time at EDC Vegas. These are things that either I didn't know before camping for the first time, or tips that I've just picked up from doing it twice now. So for context, I did Moonglow camping my first time around, and then also Moonglow my second time around. Now I'm going for the third time, and I'll actually be doing RV camping, which I'm super excited about. But Moonglow is great. Desert Rose is also great. Honestly, you can't go wrong. Camp EDC is great all around, and INSOMNIAC does a good job of having preset tents and all that good stuff. So it honestly is very like elevated camping. I had never camped at a festival before EDC, and I can honestly say it was more like glamping. You get power outlets, you get AC units. Like, you're gonna be fine. If you've never camped at a festival and you're like me, you will be great. So without further ado, let's just get into it, starting with tip number 1. Pack for all types of weather. It can be really hot, it can be really cold. The AC units in the tent, if that's what you're doing, is tent camping, they honestly only do so much, especially when it's like 100 degrees outside. There are days where I think last year, the first day, it got up to like 105 degrees. An AC unit is only gonna help you so much when you're in a tent in the middle of the outdoors in the desert in Vegas. So be prepared for very hot days. It can also get very cold once the sun goes down because, again, you are in the desert. So bring layers to sleep in. Also for the festival can get chilly some nights. Just be prepared for everything. Tip number 2 is that check-in can be a long and a hot process depending on when you get there. If you're RV camping, I highly recommend getting there as soon as camp opens, just because the RV line tends to get really long just because they take longer to check. But if you're tent camping, I recommend getting there either, again, as soon as camp opens, or get there later in the evening, honestly, because then there is zero line. You miss out on, you know, the first few hours of camp during the day, but honestly, you literally walk right in. You don't have to wait to check in. You get your tent immediately, and you don't have to deal with standing in the heat all day. So it's kind of up to you and what your preference is, but there tends to definitely be a late morning rush with tent camping, like people who get there around noon-ish. The lines will get absurdly long. I think I remember last year people were saying they waited for like 2 hours to check in and get to their tent, and when it's 105 degrees outside and you haven't eaten yet, like, it's just not fun. So also another tip is to make sure that you've eaten a good meal before you get to camp. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Definitely put on sunscreen. I know so many of my friends got nasty sunburns the first day because just weren't thinking that you would be out in the sun that long before you get to your tent. So definitely prepare for that. Last year I got there around 6-7 p.m. and literally walked through without any wait. My overall tip that I will give for tent camping is don't stress about making it earlier in the day or at a certain time so that you get a better tent spot, because when I say it is completely randomized, like, that shit is random. In 2021, we got there around 11 noon, and we got literally one of the best spots. We were in Sapphire, so we were really close to the mesa, but also so close to the festival entrance, like literally right there. And our friends who got there, we had one friend who got there literally right as it opened in the morning, and they got one of the furthest tents away, like so far from the mesa, polar opposite end from the festival entrance. Last year, the first people for my tent got there long before me. They got there probably around like 2 p.m.-ish, I want to say, and got a tent right next to the mesa. So it's a toss-up. Don't think that getting there early is going to get you a better spot, because they fill up the sections randomly. So Just don't bank on that. Don't think that because you get there at a certain time, you're gonna get a better tent. Tip number 3, do not bring luggage that is cheap or flimsy or that you care immensely about, because the path to bring your luggage to check-in, from drop off from the parking lot, whatever, is nothing but rocks. So every year there's always people who have old suitcases, the rolling ones, and the wheels break off. It happens every single year to people. So don't bring shitty suitcases. Also don't bring like very expensive designer ones or anything like that, because it is all going to be coated with a layer of dust before you even get to your tent. It gets so dirty the first day. So just keep that in mind. It is very physically draining to get your bags from the car where you get dropped off to your tent. It's a lot of walking, it's hot, it's rocky, it's not fun. So just be prepared for that. Kind of leads me into my next tip. Tip number 4 is prepare to get dusty on that first day, because when everyone's arriving, not even just Thursday, but also Friday morning, like the dust that gets kicked up from the parking lot, from everyone wheeling their bags and walking around, it just gets on everything. So make sure you have baby wipes to kind of wipe things down, because it is dirty and you definitely need to be prepared for that. Tip number 5 is that everything inside the Mesa and Camp EDC is extremely expensive, classic festival prices. So make sure you are at least prepared with the bare minimum. Like bring your own case of water, bring your own snacks, have your own alcohol. I would buy all my meals personally inside the Mesa, just because I would rather budget for that than deal with the hassle of bringing cooking equipment and cooking utensils. Like I just don't want to do that. I fly to EDC, it's just a hassle. So that's what I do personally. To each their own. Just know food is expensive in there. Definitely, again, have your own water. Bring a cooler because it is hot. You are going to need a cooler at your tent. You can buy ice once you get to camp. They have ice vendors, so just make sure you have a cooler and waters. You go through waters really quick. Also, security is not very thorough, so if you want to sneak in more alcohol, not that I'm condoning that, but you definitely could. Some of our camp neighbors, like the first year I went, snuck in so many buzz balls because they're so small, and they would just put them like at the bottom of their suitcase, because security really does not check at all. So you can do that, but the rule is you can bring in up to 24 cans of beer or seltzers, as long as I think it's 16% ABV. They can't be more than that. Or you can bring in like a 5-liter, like one of the wine bags. You can also do that, but yeah, that's allowed. You can bring your own alcohol. So again, cooler is very necessary, but security is pretty lax, so do it that way you will. Tip number 6 is you need not 1 but 2 tent locks. I feel like for most camping festivals, people are used to bringing 1, so this is really important. You need 2. There are 2 doors on each shift pod, 1 in the front and 1 in the back. So you need to have a tent lock on both. INSOMNIAC advertises this in like your camp brochures and stuff that comes in the mail, but make sure you don't forget. Not that people are going around stealing things, but you just never know. You never know. So definitely make sure you have a lock on both. Another really important thing with this, which kind of brings me into my next point, is make sure everyone in your tent has that tent lock code written down somewhere, or if it's a key, make sure you know who has the key at what time, whatever. You have to have, if it's a code, written down somewhere, because there is no cell service at camp inside the festival. This brings me to tip number 7. Prepare for 0 cell service, not just in the festival, but also at camp. The first year I went, it was okay. We could kind of send texts and check socials like very early in the morning. But last year, there was nothing. I think because they increased camp capacity by like thousands of people. So it just was a no-go for the whole weekend. You need to plan your meetup spots for inside the festival before you even get in every day. But even at camp, you cannot send texts, you cannot send DMs, nothing. So make sure your group has a game plan of like where you want to meet up and when before you go into the festival every day. Like whose tent are we going to meet at? What time do we want to be ready? What time do we want to go? Figure that shit out beforehand, because you're not going to be able to text people. At least that's the experience that myself and all of my group had. Like no one was able to text anyone, and we all have different cell carriers. So I don't know. Hopefully it's something that they fixed this year, because it was just so bad last year. But just be prepared for that. Tip number 8 for camping is bring any and all items that will help you get some sleep every day. Earplugs and an eye mask are honestly, in my opinion, not a recommendation but a must for this festival, because when you get back from EDC, from the festival, the sun is up and the afters are still going in the mesa. Believe me, they go on for so long. You will hear music until past 10 a.m. the next day, so you're gonna want earplugs, you're gonna want an eye mask. Use the foam earplugs for sleeping. Don't use like the high fidelity like concert earplugs, because you can still hear through those, whereas with the foam ones it actually blocks out noise entirely. So definitely get some of those. You can get a pack of like so many of them from CVS, Walmart, whatever it is. Those you cannot skip out on, or else you will not sleep. And an eye mask, because it's sunny and the shift pods only block out so much sunlight, honestly, so that's also something you're gonna need. If you're a melatonin person, bring that. Make sure your sleeping arrangement is also comfortable. I know the first year we went, and my friend Emma Capotis like did not sleep the whole weekend because she did not have a good like bed set up. EDC is so physically draining on the body. To not get good sleep on top of that just makes it so much worse. So being comfortable is a priority. What I did in the tents is I had a sleeping pad, just like a camping sleeping pad that I bought from Amazon, that I put on top of, like, from Walmart. I got a foam twin-sized mattress pad. You can also buy a queen one and then just like fold it, and that makes it so comfortable to sleep. I also have a camping like compact sleeping bag that I unzip so that it's kind of like a blanket. And then in the tents we would always have like throw blankets that we would just use when we needed. So if it was really cold, I would also have a throw blanket on me, and a pillow, of course. Make sure you have a real pillow. You can get just cheap ones from Walmart for like less than $5. And then at the end of the weekend, you just leave whatever you're not taking, and Insomniac deals with it. I'm not sure if they donate it, or I would hope they would donate it instead of throwing it out, but I'm honestly not sure. But yeah, you want to make sure you're comfortable, because it is very hard to sleep at this festival. The sun is always up. You're always partying when the sun is down, so it's always light out when you want to sleep, and it's loud. Camp EDC is very loud, and depending on where your tent is, you can have more luck with it. Like last year, ours especially, our tent was right off the mesa, like literally directly behind the stage where all the after parties were. So it was a nightmare to sleep sometimes. You had to be so tired to sleep. So definitely prepare, because again, you don't know where your tent is going to be. Tip number 9, kind of going off the mesa, is explore everything in Camp EDC inside of the mesa and take advantage of what it has to offer. You pay a lot of money to camp at EDC, and it's because there are so many amenities and there's so many activities going on. I'm sure you've all heard about goat yoga. That's like the most famous one that everyone talks about. There's also regular yoga, there's shuffle classes, they had like a roller rink, there's carnival games, there's obviously the pool, and there's a really large vendor village that they added last year. In October, they didn't really have as big of like a vendor area, but last year there were so many cool like small businesses and stuff, so definitely go explore. There's also, of course, the pool parties every single day. Pro tip, I'm not sure if this will be an issue this year because it was such a bad issue last year that I'm hoping they fix it this time around, but the pool parties got so crowded last year to the point where they wouldn't let people in anymore. So if you have an artist that you really want to see on the pool party lineups this year, I highly recommend, just in case this is a problem again, get there very early to the pool and secure a spot, because the line literally went across camp last year and they stopped letting people in again because they increased the capacity of camp by like thousands of people. So I honestly didn't go to any pool parties last year, I think, except one, because you couldn't get in. It was really annoying. I hope they fix it this time around, but if there's like an artist you really like have to see for the pool parties, I would plan for that just in case that happens again. The last tip that I have for Camp EDC for my first timers is to be present. EDC is very, when you camp, it is extremely off the grid. Like, you are so disconnected from the real world because you're not staying on the strip, you're not going back to a hotel or anything, you're not even going back to self-service, babe. Like, you can't check your phone, okay? It can be really stressful to not be able to get in contact with your group or even like friends back home or family back home. It can be a hassle, it gets annoying, no doubt, but the almost entire inability to check socials while in that environment is really refreshing. And I feel like after leaving last year and going back on like socials, I was like, oh, I kind of liked being disconnected. So just enjoy it while you have that time. Like Camp EDC, it's so immersive. It really makes you feel like you are just in the world of EDC Vegas for 4 days, and you get to disconnect and experience that magic with everyone. And obviously, if you don't know, you will know, EDC as a whole is just a really beautiful festival. It's so over the top in an amazing way. Like everything is just top tier, and camping makes it even more possible to be fully present and enjoy that. So just soak in every moment. I feel like with so many festivals, you're just so caught up with like, what time do we have to get ready? Oh my god, we have to eat. What time do we have to call the Uber? What time do we have to get on the shuttle? But if we want to leave at this time, we're gonna be late. We have to see this artist. Like when you camp at EDC, you lose all of that stress, and it just allows you to focus on the festival and being with your group and having a good time. So enjoy the time while you have it, and just be present, and don't worry about the outside world or any of that. That is all my tips for Camp EDC, you guys. I think I also might do a Q&A on Camp EDC for like little nitty-gritty questions. So if you have any, feel free to leave them down below, and I will throw them in probably a next video, just because Camp EDC, there's so much to it. People always want to know so many tips and tricks, so I may do that. So feel free to leave those questions below. I'll probably also run a Q&A on my Instagram story. But that's it for this video. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I will be going this year. Yeah, I did say that. I will be at EDC this year. I love EDC Vegas so much. We adore it. It's just always the best time. So I can't wait to be back. EDC in Forest, I'm just so excited for this year. So it's just gonna be a really good time, and I can't wait. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.